Welcome back, everybody. It's Jared and Bob. This is Sarcasm Speaks. It's been kind of a quiet weekend. I don't know if there's a lot to really talk about today. This might be a quick episode. Who knows, right? Nothing's really going on.
I was gonna say, Live Golf played, Scottish Open, what used to be the Barbasol. The women played in May. There were four golf tournaments.
Yeah, yeah. There
I'm
was
sure the seniors played.
the Europe Cup, European Championship Cup. I forget the Euro Cup, I think, right? That's what they call it.
I think they call
Spain
it
won there.
Euro Trash Championships.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But other than that, not too much going on. Pretty quiet in the news.
Yeah.
So obviously, we'll get to the big story here. But before we spend what will probably be most of the time talking about an attempted assassination attempt on someone who's running for president right now, who also happens to be a former president. Um, the Scottish Open was today, and Bobby MacIntyre won, which is pretty cool because he is Scottish, right? He's from Scotland and he won the Scottish Open. I don't truthfully know the last time that's happened. I don't know if it's ever happened.
I think it was 25 years I saw.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say
I
it's
bet
probably not in the
fucking
last couple decades.
Monty probably won one.
Oh yeah, Colin Montgomery. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. That's true. That's a good
Him
point.
or Well, Woosnam would have been before that. Yeah, if it's 99, it was probably Monty. I wouldn't be surprised if a bunch of Scottish dudes have won the Scottish Open because I'm sure for a while people weren't playing it.
Yeah.
And except the Scottish people would, and it's like Sandy Lyle. Or wait, Woosnam wasn't even fucking Scottish. He was Wales.
English. Welsh.
Yeah, he was from Wales. But like Sandy Lyle, Monty, some of the other guys, like I'm sure actually, like unlike the Canadian Open, it probably wasn't a PGA Tour event very long, so I'm sure a million Scottish people have won. Kind of like the Irish Open, like I'm pretty sure all the Irish guys have basically won one.
Yeah.
And same
Yeah.
with Australia and New Zealand and all that shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, 25 years since a Scot won the Scottish Open.
So yeah, pretty cool story, right? Also, it's kind of cool because he lost last year to Rory McIlroy, who a lot of people were mad at, which I mean, I know you're not the biggest Rory fan, but like, man, that guy just can't catch a fucking break. Like if you think back on it, right? Like he wins the Scottish Open last year and people are mad at him for winning because he beat Bobby MacIntyre by like playing an incredible two final holes too. He
They put a
birdied,
fucking plaque down for him.
yeah, he birdied 17 and 18 and he hit a shot that was so good on 18. There's now a plaque in the ground from where he hit it. So, I mean, it's pretty incredible what Rory did to win the tournament last year. And then people were mad at him that he won because he beat Bobby MacIntyre.
Yeah.
And now this year, people are just mad at him for just kind of being a general dick, right? And it's like, he just can't win. Guys just can't win.
If
But
only he could do something to not bring that type of shit upon himself.
yeah, if only he could, like,
Shut his fucking mouth once in a
yeah,
while
and then win big tournaments.
and win. Well, the other thing too is if he didn't have a fucking opinion on absolutely everything, I'm sure people would care a lot less.
Yeah. Yeah. So, cool there with the Scottish Open. The interesting thing, Spain kind of pulled the trifecta. I saw, um, well, I don't know the kid's name. I want to call
Al,
him
Al, Alcaraz.
Alcaraz. Yeah, I would call him Olazabal, but obviously
Nope,
that's
that's a
not it.
golfer.
It's Jose Maria Olazabal. But like, whatever. They're all Spanish.
Yeah, I think it's
Um,
Carlos Alcaraz.
so he won the French Open,
This week's
Wimbledon,
Wimbledon.
Wimbledon. Yeah.
Wimbledon, and that's always around the 4th of July.
So he's a Spaniard, fiery Spaniard. He won the Wimbledon, and Sergio won outright the Live event, which obviously
Also in
he's
Spain.
also in Spain, right? Another fiery Spaniard. And then the what is his the blazing four balls or
No, he's the
something?
fireballs.
The
Fireballs.
fireballs, yeah. It's something to do with fire and balls. His
Mm.
team won the Live event, and then you have Spain winning the Euro Trash Cup. So big weekend for Spain there in the sporting world. Um, Also a big weekend for Scots, right? Again, Bobby Mack. I saw a quote from him that they said, when is my like press conference or whatever? And it was like 3 p.m. like tomorrow or something, like obviously their time, right? To coordinate like with us. And he goes, I don't know if I'll be legally able to drive by 3 p.m. tomorrow. So he's gonna get after it. I'm sure. I'm sure the Scots can drink just as much as the Irish and the Welsh and the English. They're all the same part of the
What's
world.
kind of like there's a whiskey like named after them
Yeah, it's weird, right?
somewhere.
Tastes like smoke. Tastes like shit.
Depends on how much peat's in it. I have a
Uh,
bottle of scotch here. I don't know what it tastes like. I doubt
yeah,
it's peat. I don't think Glenlivet is Glenlivet even Scotch. I think it's Scotch. I don't think that's Irish.
yeah. I think it's Scotch.
I
I
also
don't know.
doubt that that's peated.
Yeah, not a Scotch guy, just because of the few that I have had taste like fucking campfire.
Hey, some burn ends and some fucking
Yeah,
campfire.
yeah.
Have you
Tastes like an
puking up
ashtray.
fucking red in the basement?
Yeah. Um, all right. So a couple, so that's all the sports world, right? Well, we gotta check the boxes here, right? So next up, um, before we get to the headline,
Let's say
right?
loser laps, right?
We got to take tons and tons of loser laps. Like it is incredible the amount of loser laps we need to take right now. So the amount of people that have died in the last couple days is nuts. I mean, famous people, I should say. I'm sure quite literally
I'm sure
millions of people.
mathematically the average
Yeah.
amount of people
Yeah,
have
I was
probably
gonna
died
say.
each day
Yeah.
since
Yeah.
we've recorded.
However, famous people, there have been four of them since the last time we recorded. So one of them gets a special shout out from Jones, which is Jim Einhoff, which I had no idea who Jim
Jim
Einhoff
Einhoff,
was.
is that hawk and or animal? Nope. Nope, because one of them was Laurinaitis. Pretty sure he's
No,
dead.
he's a politician. Jim Einhoff is a
Oh,
politician.
geez, I don't know what. Then I don't know what wrestler I'm thinking of. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Um, so he died. And Jones messaged me and was like, "Oh, I feel like I had him last year." And I was like, "Yeah, I feel like you're right." But I looked, wasn't in last year. And I was like, "That's weird because I know that name. And the only reason I know that name is because Jones had him in the pool." So I went back to 2022 and I was like, "What? It's not in 2022. What the hell is going on?" So I went back. Jones took him in 2021. So both Jones and I were under the impression that like he just took him like
Yep.
last year.
This
And
year, nope.
he took
Last
him
year, nope.
3 years ago. Jim Einhoff was one of Jones's selections. So,
Got
um,
away.
yeah, shout out to Jones for that. But we still got to take a loser lap because you're 3 years off.
Yeah, 3 years doesn't get. Yeah, I don't know how that guy snuck so many extra years out of us. Usually you
Yeah,
die the next year.
yeah.
Hence why Jones took himself that one year.
Then, so on top of that, we had Monty Kiffin died. So he was a very famous defensive coordinator in the NFL. He pretty sure he invented the Tampa 2 coverage.
Believe so.
Um, which for anyone that's out there that doesn't know what that is, it's just a different kind of defense. There's cover two, cover three, cover one is usually man coverage. The Tampa 2 is like a blend between cover two and cover three. All it is you take the middle linebacker, has the read on whether it's a run or a pass. And if it's a pass, the middle linebacker drops into deep thirds. So now it becomes a cover three, right? So like on a run play, it's a cover two. On a pass play, it becomes a cover three. So like they just call it the Tampa 2 system. So whatever. Um,
Most when you have Derek Brooks out there.
Yeah, it helps a lot when you have arguably one of the best middle linebackers ever to play the game as your middle
Eric
linebacker.
Brooks was a middle linebacker, right? Went to Florida State.
I think so. Um, Now you said you got me second guessing. He might be an outside linebacker. No, he was middle. He's 6 feet, 235 pounds. There's no way he played on the outside.
He also could have just played everywhere because those Tampa defenses were fucking nasty.
Yeah. He was a middle linebacker. Looking at his career NFL stats, he has over 1,700 tackles, 13 and a half sacks.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's a guy who played in the middle.
that's a middle linebacker.
But he was also 235, so it's like that's why he was able to play
Right,
like the Tampa 2 style, if that's I'm
right.
sure there's more going on. I mean, you just gave a brief synopsis, like you're not giving me every fucking breakdown of it. Obviously, you're not an NFL DC.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I think him being 235 and a former safety allowed him to sort of play that
Right,
position.
right. So that's Monty Kiffin, again, very famous defensive coordinator in the NFL. He died over the weekend. Shannon Doherty also died. Best known for 90210 and Charmed. She was the original sister in Charmed, who they wrote her off the show and replaced her with Rose McGowan in later seasons. But Shannon Doherty, one of the, I would say, a heartthrob of probably the late 80s into like the mid 90s. Um, so she died of cancer. I guess she originally had breast cancer, like I think 2016. She beat it. It came back a couple of years ago, and by the time they caught it, it was stage 4, spread to her brain, whatever. Not great, right? She was 53 years old, so she died over the weekend. But so I mean, as much of a swing and a miss on a loser lap, like we typically try not to take people that have terminal illness, and cancer would fall under that. So whatever, but still we suck. So I'll include it. And then lastly, the fourth one, there's 4 people that we had to take laps for. Richard Simmons, like that Richard Simmons, the one that you're thinking of with the giant afro and the sweatbands and the let's go everybody lift those knees, like that Richard Simmons. Yes, he's dead. Um, the really unfortunate thing, which kind of is a segue into the main story, not to just bury the lead here, as we've spent the first 15 minutes on other things. Um, Richard Simmons died about 8 minutes before the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. So it was funny later on, once everything settled and like people knew that Trump was okay. And obviously it sucked because there were people that died. Again, we'll get into that. But everyone on Twitter was like, man, poor Richard Simmons. He only got 8 minutes. He got 8 minutes of mourning. And
Yeah.
then no one wanted to talk about him. So like
Nope.
there's tons of people. I guarantee you there's tons of people that weren't on Twitter for that little period of time that have no idea that Richard Simmons is dead. Because it's just like the way the news cycle works, right? Like
Yep.
it was immediately like we got
Yeah.
to talk about Trump.
Plan better.
Yeah. Yeah. Die at a better time.
Yeah.
Or have your announcement. I'm sure he didn't die at that moment. It's when they announced it, right? So even more shit luck. Um, but yeah, no, I think that's probably about it, right? I don't think we have anything else to cover.
Till next time.
Yeah, probably wrap this up. Yeah. So somebody tried to kill former President Donald Trump, right? Number 45, at a rally yesterday in Butler, Pennsylvania. I found out about it almost in real time. We were out like shopping, like we had just gone. There's a the Bob's stores, right? Like the clothing store, Bob's.
Still open.
It's actually closing. It's going out of business.
Okay.
And there's one of them in South Attleboro. So we just took a ride down to like go through the store, and everything is like between like 30 and 70% off all throughout the store. So we just went to like go
It
take a
looks
look,
like
buy
fucking
some stuff.
Cambodia in there, I assume.
Oh yeah. Like the shoes section, it looks like fucking Fallujah. Like good luck trying to find like the same two pairs and the two size of shoes. Like boxes are just open everywhere, thrown all over the floor. It's insane. The clothes section area is like mostly fine, but the shoe section is deplorable. Um, so we literally like just walked in the door from shopping, and so I put like the bags down. I think Amy took the baby next door to see her mom because her mom was dog sitting for Nick, a friend of the show, while they were away on vacation. So like there was just a lot of moving pieces. And in that time frame, I get a text from Vinny that goes, "Trump just got shot." And I go, "What?" And I immediately, first thing I do, I open
Where
up Twitter, right? I
where
go,
else
I
would you
go to the
go?
Twitter app. Where else would I go? So I open up Twitter and I refresh the page, and lo and behold, there's the video of Trump on the stage talking, and then you hear gunshots. He like grabs the side of his face, hits the deck. Secret Service comes over. There's other gunshots firing. People are screaming in the background. Like it's like, what is happening? Like that's fucking insane. So then me and Vinny are just like texting back and forth, like that's nuts. Like what the hell? Like when? Like what's going on? And Vinny's like, I don't know. I'm following it right now on Twitter. And I go, yeah, me too. So at one point, Amy came back over to like go upstairs to for something. I think to change laundry over, and I go, Trump just got shot. She was like, what? No, he didn't. Like, are you fucking with me? And I was like, no, no, no. Like this is real. Like Donald Trump just got shot at a rally in Pennsylvania. And like I showed her the video on Twitter, and she was like, "Oh my god, that's insane." So real time, it was fast, man. Like it happened quick. It was all over the place, all over Twitter. Obviously, you get the Twitter fucking reporters, right? Frontline reporting from Twitter saying that they got the guy, they're carrying out the dead body, which is really unfortunate because the video of the dead body being carried down the stairs was actually come to find out, I forget the guy's name. It was like Corey Calabrini or something, who was a retired firefighter who ended up getting shot in the head in the stands because when the shots were fired, he dove forward to like shield his family. He was there with his wife and his daughter, and he like covered his wife and his daughter, and he got shot in the back of the head and was killed instantly. Um, but yeah, so like you see the reports, right? Like someone puts that video on Twitter of a body being carried, and they're like, "Oh, they got the guy," and it's like, yeah, looking back on it, it's not a good look, right? Like that's tough, right? That's why you
Yeah,
you
it's
probably don't want to pretend you're a reporter if you're not actually a reporter.
okay. So there's your key point. Because I was gonna say it did kind of like unfold so fucking fast.
It did, yes,
And
yeah,
if you're gonna be one of those accounts, I guess, because it's not really like a media outlet all the time. But if you're gonna be one of those accounts and you need to be like within the first like five people, like yeah, you gotta act fast and you're gonna make some fucking mistakes.
right, right. Um, and truth be told, right, this is how the internet works. The original person that posted that on Twitter might have wrote a caption that was like, "Oh my God, this was the guy that standing next to me," right, or something like that,
Yeah.
because you could clearly see they were carrying a body down a set of bleachers. Like the shooter most likely wasn't in the bleachers, right? So and from
Not
there, like someone could have taken the video and then reposted it without the caption, and then you play the game of telephone, and by the time it gets to my phone on my Twitter timeline, someone goes, "Oh, they got the shooter," and it's like, no, that's tough, man, because that's actually a guy that died trying to protect his family. So, um, again, tough look there. There was another woman that got shot in the arm. She's, I believe, in stable condition, but she was taken to the hospital. Obviously, the one guy died.
I think someone else got hit too.
Someone else got hit. They were injured. There were two people that were injured and one person that was killed. Um, and then the shooter was killed pretty quickly. um, but so I'll get through the facts and then we'll get into like the weird shit, right? So let's stick with the facts to start, right?
So you're
The,
saying we are a fact-based
yeah.
pod?
For the next like 6 minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
um, so the shooter was on the roof of a nearby building that was about 150 yards away, right? So, um, again, whether or not we'll get into like the whole Secret Service line of sight, how we got there, whatever. The fact is, the shooter was on the roof of a building about 150 yards away with an angle into the president, right? Fired 5 shots. One of them grazed Trump in the ear, um, just kind of like ripped his ear up a little bit, made his face all bloody, but he's okay. Like I've already mentioned, unfortunately, the gentleman Corey, again, I forget his last name. It's an Italian last name, but Corey lost his life again trying to protect his family, and then 2 other people were injured. Right, so it's a fucking awful situation. The shooter was killed again pretty quickly after he got off those first 5 shots. Um, then Secret Service jumped on him. He gets up, he goes to walk off the stage and tells the Secret Service to stop and turns back, throws his fist in the air and just yells fight. He just keeps yelling fight, 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 fight with his fist in the air, walks off the stage, face bloodied, fist in the air. There's a photographer right there to grab that picture. And it just so happened there's an American flag hanging from 2 like fire trucks in the background. And it's like, it's the most epic picture. It's up there with Washington crossing the Delaware, right? Like it is going to end up being one of the most epic photographs, paintings, whatever of a US president ever, right? It's going to be up there with shit. Who was it Teddy Roosevelt? No, it was Reagan or Nixon. I think it was Reagan because I know Reagan did actually get shot. But there was a president that was giving a speech and there was a shot, like someone tried to shoot the president and he stood there and he goes, you missed me. And then just like kept giving his speech. And then like the Secret Service like ran on him and like got him out of there. I think it was Reagan. Because then obviously I know Reagan did actually get shot by John, I think it was John Hinckley, was the guy that shot him.
Why do they hate Reagan so much?
Yeah, we'll kind of get to that. We'll
Okay.
get there. We'll meander our way down that path.
All right. All right. Just lead me to the promised land.
So yeah, with that, and then with Teddy Roosevelt. So Teddy Roosevelt also got shot while he was giving a speech, and I think he just continued on with his speech. He like did one of the like a John Wick. You know what I mean? Like kind of like hit himself a little bit, like made sure he was okay, and then just like kept giving his speech. So Teddy Roosevelt's kind of a fucking badass. But again, the picture of Trump walking off the stage with his fist in the air, dude, you're not gonna fucking beat that. Again, like that's got to be one of the coolest fucking pictures ever. And I've seen so many people on Twitter be like, I don't like this guy. Like I genuinely don't like this guy, but that's fucking badass. Like I've seen people be like, I was not going to vote for this guy. I might still not vote for him, but looking at that really gets me charged up and like want to run through a wall for this country. Like this guy is fucking something else, man. Like he really gives new meaning to Teflon Don. Like it's actually unbelievable that the shooter took 5 shots and only grazed his fucking ear. Like took a chunk out of his ear, right? Like he's gonna be a Vander Holyfield, basically now. Like that's it. So so yeah, the Secret Service gets him out of there. They throw him in the car, they get him to the hospital, whatever. He's all good. So after that, again, still sticking to the facts before we have some fun here. It took about an hour, one whole hour for current president Joseph Robinette Biden to have any sort of statement. An hour.
Like it did take longer than that, but anyway, that would
Yeah, it could have. Yeah, it could have been a
that
little
is
more.
that's
Could have
semantics.
been like an hour and 20, right? Like it
Yeah,
was it was at least one
it
hour
seemed
later.
like well, but it also like seemed like
It
forever
seemed like
because
an eternity
because people were bitching about it for a
because
long time.
everyone was talking about it. There was enough time to go by for other people to make statements, right? Like Barack Obama came out and gave a statement and said like this is unacceptable, like regardless of Republican, Democrat, like I do not condone political violence, like we need to remain one country united, whatever the general shit, right? He was like I wish Donald well and I hope for a speedy recovery, like all that, right? So Obama puts out a statement. I think George Bush put out a statement. There's like current sitting members of Congress were putting out statements, and everyone's like, where the fuck is Biden? I like where is this guy? And this is an original thought of mine, right? There were a lot of people that were saying this, but my first thought was, oh, he's sleeping. He's
Oh yeah,
probably
I mean,
sleeping.
what else would he be doing?
And that was what a lot of people on Twitter were saying. He's probably asleep. Um, and eventually he did give a statement. He gave I think a written statement first, right? And then later on, I think around 8 o'clock. So all this went down right around like 6:15. Um, so I think around 8 o'clock, he got up and gave a press conference, maybe like 8:30. And it was a quick, like 10-minute press conference, right? Basically read off the teleprompter, right? Like, this is a horrible act. We don't condone this, whatever. And then so someone asked him a question and they were like, do you think this was an assassination attempt? And he stopped himself and he goes, I have an opinion, but I don't have any facts. So I can't say anything yet. We need to wait for all the facts to come in and we need the FBI to do their job. And then he just kind of like walks off that stage, which surprisingly, he made it off the stage very well for someone with dementia or what they're alluding to could potentially be Parkinson's, but who knows? Um, and then that was it. That was basically it, right? So on that timeline, um, let's have some fun. So I think I want to start. I'll start at the end, right? Because this was like after things happen. Then we'll go back and then we'll really assess the situation. So your friend and mine, Alex Jones,
Oh God.
got on Twitter and was going crazy, right? Saying that he's told Trump frequently over the last few months he needs to beef up his security. They were going to try and kill him. Tucker Carlson also has been pretty open that they're going to try and assassinate Trump for months now. Tucker has been saying that. And he was like, follow like the progression, right? Like they tried to get him in the public, the public perception didn't work, right? Then they tried to this was like back in 2016, right? So then he wins the election, he gets in, they tried to impeach him twice, it didn't work, right? Then they get out, he gets out, he's going to run again. All right, well, now let's take legal action against him, and it didn't work, right? And every single time they've tried something, it's just made him stronger. So Tucker goes, what do you think is the next logical step? Right? Like they've tried
Level
the
70 fucking Mewtwo.
Yeah, he is. He's a level 70 Mewtwo. It's like, again, they tried the public perception, they tried the impeachment, They tried the legal action, none of it worked. The next logical step is to just fucking kill him. And again, Tucker's been saying it for a while. Alex Jones has been saying it for a little bit. Rogan has kind of like made some allusions to it, right? He's joked about it, being like, yeah, they're probably gonna fucking off him. You know what I mean? Like something like that. So again, Alex Jones on Twitter, going nuts yesterday, talking about all of this, says that the deep state is now desperate. They're in a desperation mode because this didn't work. They kind of put all their eggs in one basket, was hoping this was going to pull through for them, and it didn't. So Alex Jones is saying that next they're going to try and poison Trump. So what he said is there's 112 days before this election. And again, the quote unquote deep state is going to do anything that they can to make sure that Trump is not the candidate. And he thinks that they're going to try and poison him. So,
I was kind of thinking, so it's like, all right, well, you tried shooting them, that didn't work. Like,
right.
dude, you need boots on the ground now. Like, you need a hands-on.
Yeah.
And it's like you can't even poison his food because it's like you've seen the movies where they switch the plates and
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Like, dude, someone's gonna if they're gonna kill him, someone needs to fucking choke him to death or fucking get in there with a fucking needle and just like throw it in his neck. Like,
Yeah.
if they're gonna get him, that's how it's gonna be, or it's gonna be a gun to the head. Like, but it's
Right.
gonna it can't be from distance.
Yeah. A self inflicted gunshot wound from the back of the head, Hillary Clinton style.
Yeah,
Or two self inflicted gunshot wounds in the back in the head ruled a
yeah,
suicide.
yep.
Yeah, because
Nothing to see
that's
here.
actually happened before. Yeah, no, it was a suicide. Yeah, he had time to pull the trigger twice.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
first one didn't take.
Yeah. So uh again, Jones is going off, and it's really easy to kind of like turn your nose up and be like, oh, it's Alex Jones, he's fucking crazy.
Well, yes, but
But
he's not always wrong.
he's not always wrong.
But he is wrong.
He is wrong, right?
He,
He
and
is
he is
wrong,
crazy.
and he is crazy, but he's not
He's
always
not
wrong.
always wrong. No.
He also said that the deep state is going to go after obviously himself, right? And he mentions Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson. He said he named those three people specifically. He said myself, Joe Rogan, and Tucker Carlson. He goes, we're all in the crosshairs. They're coming for us. And I was like, okay. I mean, again, it's
Hey, sometimes it's better to stop talking.
yeah, yeah.
What the fuck would they want with Joe Rogan?
Because there's enough people that follow him, and he is an independent, but mostly independent thinker.
Yeah, that's not worth their time.
He asks questions.
Yeah, I know, but he's not actually. So he's in a how so he's in a seat of influence on thoughts and attitudes and emotions, but he can't actually do anything because he's not actually in politics. So
Right.
he can make people think a certain way.
He's an ideological threat.
Yeah, but is he though?
Yeah, for sure. Look what happened during COVID. He
Yeah,
pushed
but
back against the vaccine, and everyone was like, "Oh, what are you, a Joe Rogan guy? What are you, an
yeah,
anti-vaxxer Joe Rogan guy?"
but ultimately what happened? Nothing. All he does is provide a voice for what people are already thinking.
Yeah, and that's fair. However, he's still an ideological threat, right?
I
It's
don't
the
think
same.
he
The same as
so
Tucker Carlson.
so when we're talking about yeah, but the only reason I even accept Tucker Carl, which I don't believe that, but I don't believe like someone's gonna kill Alex Jones because he's a fucking asshole, not because of his influence or his thought provoking
Yeah,
like rhetoric. It's no, they're gonna be like, you're a prick. We didn't forget what you fucking said 12 years ago. Like,
yeah,
enough of you. That's why he would get killed.
right.
Tucker Carlson. probably again, I don't know much about the guy, and like I really don't kind of like follow this shit. But I'm guessing he actually might have some 2 degrees of Kevin Bacon influence in an actual like political sense because he's probably interviewed all these people. It's very clear what side he's on. Like someone wants to get a message out, they can do it through him. Like I don't know how many pure politicians have been on Rogan to like do their political fucking puppeteering.
Yeah, not many. I mean, it's been Bernie was on, Tulsi was on, he had Dan Crenshaw on back in the day.
Yeah, and that's fine, but you can use Tucker Carlson to not propaganda is always such a strong word, but like if you use propaganda by definition, you can use Tucker Carlson as propaganda. Many politicians don't use Joe Rogan as propaganda. Joe Rogan's more of like the science world, the professionals in their industries. And yes, he does. And then when like so I mean like COVID was a big thing, but like other than that, he's pretty moderate with everything else he has to say in general. Because if you just remove the COVID vaccine stuff, he generally brings on people of differing opinions. Usually he brings on people that are experts in whatever the fuck he decides that he's talking about. And yeah, he asks some like differing questions, or he'll ask questions from like the opposite side, but he's not really. I just from someone who doesn't listen to him, I
But
don't think he has the influence that.
so the issue that you're having right now is you're using logic.
Yeah,
You're thinking like a real person
trying to kill Joe
logically.
Rogan's a waste of resources. That's
For
what
sure.
ultimately what it
Yeah.
comes down
No,
to.
I mean I don't necessarily disagree with
Fucking
you.
waste of resource. And when Alex Jones says that shit, I'm like, yeah, you know what? Like, if you wanted to say like, oh, they're gonna come after me, they're gonna come after Tucker Carlson, they're gonna come after like, 4 politicians that I'm not gonna mention their names for privacy and safety, and there's no need to create an uproar. But there's like 4 guys that like, I don't know if they're gonna like their chances. I would say you're still fucking crazy. I still don't fucking believe it. But like, all right, maybe you're fucking conjuring something up. But then when you say like it, because it's just like one of those things, like not like all conversations come back to Hitler, but it just seems like all conversations come back to Joe Rogan. It's like,
Yeah.
bro, he is still the fucking Fear Factor guy. Like he is
Yeah.
still the fucking MMA announcer.
Right.
Like yes, he has a large platform, but outside of the COVID vaccines, he hasn't really like rallied the troops towards some common goal because he doesn't do that. He doesn't
Right.
have that.
Right.
He actually doesn't have an agenda. Now,
Right.
does he lean more conservative? Yeah, sure. But like he'll bring on people that he doesn't agree with.
Right.
And he'll
Right.
ask some questions. And even though he doesn't agree, usually they're way smarter than he is. So it's like they just give their thoughts and it's a very, dare I say, civil conversation most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's just like one of those like I got this whack job idea. Let me just throw Joe Rogan into it. It's like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
of course you did.
So one of the other things that Jones was saying was they that they're going to try and kill Biden next. And what they're going to do is they're going to use a false flag, which I don't know, there's a quick definition on a false flag is like a fake, it's a fake attack, right? It could be a fake terrorist attack or whatever. So the United States government has had false flag operations all the time. That's how we got into Vietnam. Turns out it was through a false flag. Um, so what he said was what they're going to do next is they're going to have a false flag attack on Joe Biden, make it appear like it's a Republican radicalist, right? That's trying to get back at Biden as if somehow Biden was behind it, right? And they're going to get rid of Biden as well, but make it look like it was a Trump fanatic that did it. So, I mean, that part I don't think is as far fetched because of everything that's been going on over the last couple of weeks where everybody wants Joe Biden to step down and basically but really it's like it's Jill at this point. I think everyone is well aware that Jill Biden is the one pulling the strings. Um, is like, no, I'm staying in the race.
Percent of people that are stupid, 97 and change.
Yeah, 97 and change.
I'd like to round the and change down to 97 because it does seem like after yesterday, people are at least like, politics aside, like former president and current candidate try to get assassinated. Like that's not good for
No,
the country.
no, it's not.
So I'd like to round down to 97%. If they try to get killed, or if Biden gets fucking killed, I think you're going to get a higher percent of people than 48 hours ago going, what's going on here?
Yeah, why are both candidates being
Yeah,
attacked?
what's like because that would be my thing. Like if Biden gets killed, like in the next 3 months, uh, 4 months, my first thing's gonna be like, okay, that sucks. Because, anytime like the leader of a country gets fucking assassinated, it's like not a good thing.
Yeah,
But my second thought is going to be, what the fuck are we doing here? And what the fuck is going on?
yeah.
Because Secret Service, FBI, fucking ATF, fucking Lottery Commission, like all these people should now, Postmaster General especially, like all these people should be on high alert. There should not be anyone getting to either of these guys.
Right.
And probably the vice president and some high ranking Congress people too. No one should be like in the United States, nobody should be able to get to these people through I would say through inauguration day.
Yeah.
No one. So you tell me that someone takes out Biden in the next 4 months, bro, I'm asking questions. Like something ain't right there.
But a lot of
I
people
don't know
won't.
what, because I ain't smart enough to, but
A lot of people won't
I think
because
more
they'll
people will
if
than
they
48
paint
hours
it
ago, but that's still not a lot of people.
in the media again to be like, oh, it's a deranged Trump supporter trying to get payback or whatever. I think a lot of people will go along with that.
I think,
I think people are sheep, and anyone that follows mainstream media is a sheep.
what's funny though? I think it's the people that lie. So I guess in that specific situation, it would be like the left center people that can, which obviously is probably more people than you think because they're the quiet ones.
Right, right.
Um, but they're the ones that might actually sit there, take one step back, and be like, "What the hell is happening now?
Yeah.
Like, something's not right here." And I think you would get a lot more of that based on what happened yesterday. Than now, I'm not saying it's a lot of people. Like, if it was gonna be fucking 3 people, now it might be like 25 people. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but I actually from yesterday, I actually think more people might start asking questions, and I think people might start actually getting pissed. Like, I don't know where Portnoy stands politically. It doesn't really matter. I
He's
want
a
to
little bit
see.
more conservative.
Is he?
Yeah, he's a Trump guy.
Is he actually though?
Yeah.
All right. Well, because I thought at times he went the other way, but it doesn't.
I mean,
It
he does. He does. But
Yeah, okay. I was gonna say because I think God forbid he might actually have like
opinions from both sides.
thoughts. I would say
Yeah.
thoughts that fit his personality and not necessarily a political affiliation.
Yeah.
Um,
Imagine that.
Yeah, because he wrote out some long thing, effectively calling for like violence in the country is bad for no matter what side you're on. Like
Right,
some like they should be calling for peace from here on out. Like that is the move.
right, right.
So okay, if he leans right now, take the him that leans left, right? Like so, I don't know who that is in the real world, but say it's the fucking CEO of whatever the fuck company, it doesn't matter. And then they like look at that and be like, again, like something's not fucking right here. I think you might get a little more of that. Not a lot,
Yeah.
but definitely more than 2 days ago.
I saw someone post something that I thought was really interesting. Just kind of like that's a good point. And then like keep scrolling on Twitter that however many years ago it was, right, when there was some civil unrest and some things happened that people didn't like, pick it, right? There was quite a few that happened in like a 2 year stretch. There were riots and small businesses that were set on fire and looting and everything in cities all across the country. When a predominantly left and liberal crowd was upset, right? Again, whether you want to talk about, and this has nothing to do with whether or not the actual cases themselves were right or wrong, right? But like, just pick one. Again, whether it was George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, like any of those, take any of those that happened, over the past few years. There have been when the left is the one that's upset. There have been again those riots and the destruction of property and things like that. The literal candidate running for the as the Republican nominee was actually centimeters away from being murdered on stage in front of hundreds of people, if not thousands, and then live on TV to even more tens, if not hundreds of thousands. There wasn't a single riot. There wasn't a single looting. There wasn't a single unrest anywhere. And I was like, hmm. And again, I did one of those like, yeah, it's pretty accurate. And I kept scrolling on Twitter, right? So like, but I think it's worth noting that I just think I think it's interesting.
Yep, just an observation, right?
Yeah, just an observation, right? Like, isn't that interesting? That something goes wrong for the left and they riot and destroy stuff, and then something goes wrong for the right and it's crickets. So I don't know. So now that we got through like the conspiracy shit, the Alex Jones stuff, I should
Yeah,
say.
just Alex Jones because
Um, let's back up and go back to the facts and then talk about why some of the facts are fishy. So Secret Service is there, right? Again, the shooter was on the roof of a building roughly 150 yards away. There have been videos and pictures put out of two snipers, right? Sitting on a roof behind Donald Trump, looking like apparently pointing in the direction of where the shooter is coming from, right? Like I love the people on Twitter, right? Like from a two-dimensional photo with depth change, right? And things like that. They're like, oh, the shooters were looking right at him. How the fuck do you know?
yeah. 2D photo with camera angles. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
how do you know? Maybe they weren't looking right at him. Like, regardless, getting away from the fact that, like, should someone have seen the guy? Yes, that the answer is yes. They should have got him. They should have seen him.
Yeah, I would
They should
say
have
what
stopped him ahead of
in
time.
yeah, I was gonna
But
say,
for
should anyone
you,
have been able to access that roof? No,
exactly.
they
But
shouldn't
for
have
you
been.
to sit there in your fucking couch, right, scrolling through Twitter, typing on your fat thumbs on your iPhone 15 about, oh, the shooters were looking right at him. The snipers, the sniper, they also call them Secret Service, right? You don't know they're Secret Service. They're wearing bulletproof vests, like they're wearing the vests that say police on the back. They don't say Secret Service. They say police. Could have been local law enforcement. It could have been the SWAT team, right? Could have been a state run department. Like you have no idea. They're like, oh, the Secret Service snipers were looking right at him.
Does the Secret Service have snipers?
They do. They do.
Okay.
But there's no way to tell who those people were. And the reason why I say that is I happened to stumble upon this on Twitter. One of the times where like the Twitter algorithm actually is helpful. There's someone who is a current law enforcement officer who has worked with Secret Service and the state police in his area multiple times, right? He didn't say where he was from. So I'm assuming it's, maybe in the Virginia, D.C. area or in an area like in Ohio, Pennsylvania, somewhere where like politicians go a lot. Because he said he's been involved in, I think it was 6 or 7 different times where he was involved in the direct security of a presidential or a nominee event, right? And he said there's complexities to this because, and to pause for a second, there's one thing. So Dan Holloway from the Drinking Bros talks about this all the time. It's called Hanlon's razor. We've talked about it on the show before, but Hanlon's razor says never apply to malice what can be explained as incompetency, right? So don't automatically assume the worst case scenario because it could just be the people are stupid. Basically,
Usually
is what Hanlon's razor says. So keeping that in mind,
I think it might be the smartest guy of all time.
Yeah, whoever this Hanlon guy is just fucking genius. So keeping that in mind, this big long Twitter post, it was like 12 different tweets that I'm reading through from this guy who, again, claims to be law enforcement, has been involved with this before. He goes, there are multiple layers of security. And I'm paraphrasing what he said, but what he goes, the inner security, right, is 100% Secret Service. And he goes, those are the guys you see jump on top of the president, right? When something happens, they grab him, they pull him to safety. That the people closest to him is Secret Service. And he goes, then you have the middle tier. And he goes, the middle tier is usually local law enforcement, right? Maybe it's a SWAT team, right? Like a state-run agency, whatever.
If there's going to be like snipers and like riot, like actual, like more tactical officers, it's going to be a SWAT team.
Right. Then he says there's a third tier. That's the exterior tier. And he goes, this one is a blend usually of the local law enforcement and Secret Service. So, but he said generally the middle tier is mostly made up of local law enforcement and your, again, high level SWAT, state police, whatever, right? He goes, the issue with that scenario is communication. He goes, typically there's only a couple people that are not Secret Service that have a direct line to the Secret Service, right? Because one of the things that people are talking about was there were regular civilians running around shouting at cops in the area that they saw someone on the roof of a building with a rifle, right? Like there's videos of, I've seen a video of people yelling, he's got a gun, someone do something, he's up there. And then like seconds later, shots are fired, right? So what this guy, again, this guy was explaining on Twitter was if the local law enforcement was there for that, right? And there was no Secret Service in the area, there's a chance that those law enforcement guys don't have a direct line to Secret Service. So what then they would have had to do was get on their radio, right? Call in to the guy that does have the line to Secret Service. And then that guy would then have to tell Secret Service, right? And then Secret Service would take action. So there's a delay in communication there. So for all the people again that are like, well, how can civilians see the guy and the people are yelling and there was cops there and they didn't do anything and all this stuff. And it's like, again, we don't know. We don't know who those counter snipers were on the roof behind them. There's a chance it wasn't Secret Service, right? There's a chance it was local law enforcement, right? Maybe those guys, which, like, using logic, it would be really stupid if you had the two guys as counter snipers on the roof behind the president and they're the ones that don't have the direct line to Secret Service. Feels like, because they have the best vantage point, you would want those guys to be able to communicate. But again, my personal opinion aside, this is just what I got from this guy on Twitter who was explaining the situation, who basically was saying there's a lot more that goes into this. And it's more likely than not that it was incompetency, right, that led to anything, that led to this being able to happen, than some like nefarious, like the deep state, did, and, whether or not the quote unquote deep state, right? Whether you want to say CIA, FBI, whatever 3-letter agency, there's always a chance that they radicalized this one guy, right? They've done it before. We talked about it before. The FBI did it with the Gretchen Whitmer. They faked a kidnapping, right? 7 out of the 11 guys that kidnapped her worked for the FBI, right? So, like, could they have radicalized this guy to actually do it? 100%, 1000%, right? There's some potential evidence I've heard that the FBI might have been involved in pushing the Boston Marathon bombers over the edge, right? Like, they already weren't really cool with America and they were thinking about doing some stuff, but like the FBI kind of like pushed them over the edge. Maybe that happened. I don't know. I can't say for sure, right? Maybe it happened because it has happened in the past. But the conspiracy theory that the head of the Secret Service called the people that work for the Secret Service and said, don't do anything. I have a hard time believing that, right? Because that's really easy to get caught, right? Like, if there's 25 Secret Service agents, right, on the detail for this event, and maybe I'm lowballing, I don't know, maybe let's just say there's 25. If the woman, because that's who everyone is saying needs to step down, if the woman who's the director of the Secret Service told those 25 agents, hey, wink, nudge, nudge, if something happens today, don't act immediately. You're going to think all 25 of those people are going to get on board and keep their mouths shut? Not a chance, right? I think it was Ben Franklin that said that 3 people can keep a secret if 2 of them are dead, right? Like, that's how this works, right? You're not going to get every single Secret Service agent to keep their mouths shut if the director of the Secret Service told them to do nothing, right? So another thing that this guy mentioned was that there was a scenario a few years ago where, again, because of a breakdown in communication, Secret Service had counter snipers on a roof for a presidential event. I think this was during he said the Trump presidency. So because you have different law enforcement agencies involved and people don't communicate, there was a local SWAT team that was set up in a position on a roof that was also scanning the area. Secret Service counter snipers did not know that the local SWAT team was engaged. So what they saw was a couple heavily armed guys sitting on the roof with a direct line to the president. They almost shot the SWAT guys. Like, they got on the radio and were able to figure it out really quickly, but like, it was almost a disaster, right? Again, because people don't communicate. So what this guy on Twitter alluded to was, if those counter snipers on the barn that we've seen in the pictures and the videos behind Trump were communicating to someone, right? Saying, I've got eyes on someone on a roof. What's the call? It could have been, we don't know. We don't know anything about that. well, what's the next thing? Again, I'm not a law enforcement guy, right? So, Sexy Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, right? So, it could be the scenario of, am I clear to engage, right? Like, it could be statement number one. I see someone on a roof. Do we know anything over there? His commanding officer, I don't know. Let me check with other agencies. What's going on? We don't know. We don't know. Am I clear to engage? We don't know yet. Am I clear to engage? I see a gun. Can I engage? We don't know. Stand down. Like, that's a very real possibility that could have happened. And then once the shots were fired, they took the guy out within seconds, right? Because they knew that he was a hostile, right? So again, it could just be incompetency that led to this. Now, should the Secret Service have just acted and gotten him out of there if there was a question? Yeah, 100%. They should have, right? Like, there were a lot of breakdowns. Like, if you have someone on a roof of a barn being like, I see someone on a roof 150 yards away with a gun. Do we know if that's a friendly or a hostile? If the answer is I don't know,
Get him out of
that's
there.
that's immediately get the president out of there. You get him. I've never been in law enforcement. I don't work for the Secret Service. I don't even pretend to. But I know you get him out of there, right? If the answer is if to the question of is that a friendly or a hostile, the answer is I don't know. You get the fucking guy out of there. And they didn't do that, right? So there was a lot of breakdowns in communication. There was a lot of issues. There was a lot of incompetency. Again, I think it's more likely than not a lot of people fucked up for this to happen. Now, there's also reports coming out now. The Associated Press published an article today that there was a local police officer that went up the ladder to the roof where where the shooter was, and the shooter turned around and pointed his rifle at him, and the police officer went back down the ladder. So again, personal opinion aside, right? Like, it's really easy for me to say, someone who's not a cop, right? Why do you not just go back up and start, Wild West the guy, like blow him away, right? Like that's it's kind of a stupid thing to say, right? Because you have never been in that scenario, but it's easy for someone to say that, right? Like, why would you go back down the ladder? Why wouldn't you engage? You don't know what it is. Someone just pointed a gun at you. Like, shortly thereafter is when the shots were fired, right? So again, incompetency, right? Is the guy a coward, right? Could be, right? Hey, cops are humans, right? Like,
I was just kind of wondering if the logistics, like, can you actually draw your weapon and climb a ladder?
probably not.
I genuinely don't know.
It's probably pretty difficult, right?
I would
Like,
lean towards no.
yeah. And then you always have to think of, this is one of the things that I learned, like, in my gun safety course. Like, it's not about the target, it's what's beyond the target, right? Because you have these people on Twitter, right, that you see this, like, oh, like, they turn it into a movie, right? Oh, why didn't you just hang out below the roof and just stick the gun over the edge and start shooting?
Right.
Because what's beyond the target, right? Like,
Also,
it's
what if you miss 8 times?
exactly, what if you miss, right? Then you shoot the president. Then you're Mark Wahlberg in Shooter, right? Like,
Well, I'm just like this sense where you like reach up and shoot,
that's
you
the
miss your
stupidest
eight,
thing ever. That's
and
the
the
stupidest thing
dude
ever.
just takes like a 45-degree rotation and just blows you away.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's a stupid thing to say, right? But again, it's easy for me to say, why would you go back down the ladder? I, I don't know. I would think you got to do something. I would think of all the options that you would have in that scenario as a cop. Going back down the ladder is probably the last option.
I kind of wonder where he went after that. I'm okay going down the ladder, but so what did you do next?
Right. Yeah, and that's what no one knows. That's what no one knows, because the Associated Press didn't put that in their article. So again, like, a lot of things happened, and some people want to call it a conspiracy. I again think it's most likely what that guy that I found on Twitter had said. It's a breakdown in communication because you have different law enforcement agencies that don't have the same lines of communication with each other, that don't work together, that
but
are,
also have a sense of privacy amongst them.
yeah, and like
Like
they're
you
doing
can't get,
different things.
yeah, like you can't mix communication channels. Like
Right,
if you're not supposed to get in touch with the Secret Service, you can't.
right, right.
It's not like, hey, but this one's an emergency. It's like, all right, well,
Yeah, all
dial
right.
zero, dial
Yeah,
zero for the operator.
let's synchronize our radios to channel 2. Everyone go to channel
Yeah.
2, right? Like that's
Grab your Campbell's can. They're all
yeah.
connected.
Yeah, that's not really how that works. So, yeah, and it could have been the situation again, like the guy described. I see someone, am I clear to engage? Right? And it could have been, we don't know, stand down. And then once shots are fired, you no longer need permission to engage. But yeah, it's shitty. It's awful. Um, the the candidate for president was almost killed. One person was killed in the crowd protecting his family. Two other people were injured. It's terrible. It's an awful situation. But I don't think it was this crazy conspiracy. I also hate that people were saying it was staged. Like that's fucked up. Like that makes me mad when people are like, "Oh, it was staged." Like some guy died. Like a retired firefighter died protecting his family, and two other people were shot and injured. And you have the fucking audacity to sit there and be like, "Oh yeah, it was fake." Fuck you.
Did you like the rubber bullet people?
Yeah, yeah,
It's like, oh, they weren't gonna kill him. It's a rubber bullet. Why'd they shoot him in the ear? Why
yeah.
wouldn't they have hit him in the fucking shoulder?
Right, right. So
Plus, if you hit him in the shoulder, would have made a much more dramatic scene because it would have fucking knocked him over.
right, right.
Getting hit in the shoulder with a rubber bullet, you know how fucking bad that would hurt.
Oh God, yeah. So yeah, it's a lot. I think it was a lot of breakdowns in communication and job function that allowed a really unfortunate situation to unfold. Because as soon as the guy started shooting, he was dead within seconds.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was pop, then it was a bunch of pops,
Yep.
and then there was effectively like one more pop.
Yeah. Yep.
It's kind of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I saw someone else on Twitter like break it down, and it might have actually been Dan Holloway, actually, who was like, you can hear the initial burst of fire, which is the 5 shots that the shooter shot. And then you hear a couple shots from counter snipers, and then there's a long pause. And then you hear one final shot. He goes, it's most likely the shooter was still moving, and they gave him one more just to put him down for good, right? Just to make sure. So
Yep.
yeah, and like the conspiracy people, right? About like, oh, the Secret Service was told not to do anything. Then why did they shoot him at all? Why didn't they just let him finish the job? Why didn't they let him get away?
That'd be too obvious, dude.
Yeah. So I'm all good with like people and their stupidity and their dumbass takes and the bullshit like
Well, it's
faking.
because
Like
that's the
again,
thing is like
someone literally lost their life, right? Like there's
because
a family today that has to deal with like a dead person in their family.
yeah, and that's the thing is like those that think it was staged. If it was Biden, you'd be like freaking out.
Oh
Like
yeah.
it would be as if fucking Trump was fucking laying on that rooftop with the sniper rifle.
Yeah.
Trump should go to jail because obviously it was one of his guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
He did it.
Yep.
It's like no, he didn't pull the trigger.
Yeah.
That would be it.
Yeah. So like one of the things you're seeing now, which it's tough because I don't necessarily disagree with it, but I also have to tread lightly because I don't want to just fall into the like emotional side, like taking sides with one side. But what a lot of people on the Republican side are saying is that the Democrats for the last 10 years have been saying Trump is Hitler. Trump is a threat to democracy. Trump is evil. Trump needs to be stopped, right? Like that's the rhetoric that they've been using for 10 years. So if you're going to talk about this guy as if he's Hitler and as if he gets in one more term, right? It doesn't matter that he was already president for 4 years and none of that stuff happened. Because if he gets elected this time, all that stuff's
Well,
definitely going to
this time will
happen.
be different.
This time is going to be different, right? This time it's going to be different. He's going to lock up all the gays and he's going to kill people, right? And he's gonna prosecute all the people that go against
Going
him.
to repeal the amendment where women have the right to vote.
Yeah, yeah.
They're not going to be able to drive
He's
cars
gonna he's
anymore.
gonna federally ban abortion altogether, despite
He's
the
going to get
fact
rid of
that
all of it, all of it.
yeah, despite the fact that none of that happened from 2016 to 2020. People are saying again on the liberal side in the media, the Democratic Party, they're saying this time it's different. We cannot let him get in office. He's going to do all this. He's a threat to democracy. What do you think is going to happen if over the course of 10 years, all you do is tell people that this one guy is Hitler and he's a threat to democracy?
Theoretically, someone's going to try to take that person out.
Eventually, right? Like that's one of those like logical discussions, right? Like, would you go back in time and kill baby Hitler? Right? Like theoretically, if you knew that this guy, right, was going to lock up all the gays and federally ban abortion and prosecute all the people that went against him, wouldn't you want to do something to prevent that? Is it that big of a logical leap to think that for 10 years of telling people that this guy is a threat to democracy, that someone might say, I'm going to take this into my own hands. I'm going to kill the guy?
Well, plus, if you piggyback off what you were talking about earlier, maybe it was the Alex Jones shit, but it's like you tried to do it all the legitimate ways and it didn't work. And
Yeah.
this guy's so bad, so bad, so bad, so bad, but he's a fucking cockroach because you can't get rid of him. It's like, all right, well, I guess I'll try something different this time.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I mean. Like, I think it is a very fair argument, right? Now, there's some people that are like, oh, these people's blood is on your hands. Like you did this, you did. It's like,
No.
okay, like that's a little bit much for me, but I can get down with the part of that argument, right? That says for 10 years you were spewing the rhetoric that this guy's a threat to democracy and that he's Hitler, right? And that's going to cause people to be radicalized and try and kill him. I think that's totally reasonable, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's like you create this narrative for way too fucking long and nothing and that's the biggest part is nothing changes.
Right.
He hasn't yes, he lost the last election, but he's still eligible. So it's like it actually would have been easier for everybody if he had just won the last one.
Yeah, it
He'd
would
be
have.
out by now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that's the thing is like, have the last 4 years been great? No. How much worse could it have fucking been?
Yeah.
They already took, I mean, like the Supreme Court's been sitting there fucking throwing everything out. Like, although that would have been fucking insufferable. That would have been so bad.
Oh yeah.
Like, Supreme
Yeah.
Court rules on X. Can't believe Trump did that.
Yeah. It's all Trump's fault.
Yeah, can't believe he did that.
Yeah.
It's like, well,
Yeah.
he didn't. The Supreme Court did. Yeah, it's his Supreme Court though.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. He put all those people there.
Yeah.
All 9 of them.
Yep. So I don't know, dude. It's just fucking wild times.
I mean, it's not that surprising though.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
I was like, so because when you guys had it in the Snapchat group, I'm like, well, that's unexpected. So I went to Twitter
Yeah.
and I saw it. It's like, oh, that's legit. I'm like, wasn't intending on that happening today. Kind of surprised it took this long
Yeah.
with the amount of hate they have for this fucking guy.
Yeah. I saw a lot of people that were talking about how um if you followed the incident on Twitter, you knew exactly what was happening as it was happening. If you followed through mainstream media,
Oh, that was a
you
debacle,
had
dude.
no clue
That
because
was
all of
so
the
bad.
original headlines, like CNN posted a headline like Trump falls down
Yeah,
at
loud
rally.
noises heard.
Yeah, like
It's like Brick
MSNBC
Tamlin's in the
was
corner yelling
yeah,
fucking loud noises.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. MSNBC goes loud noises at a Trump rally. There's all of this like random headlines that come out, and it's like, are you guys fucking serious? Like,
it was so bad, dude.
could you be any worse?
The Washington Post, they started with something like, oh, loud noises heard. Trump is escorted off stage by Secret Service. It's
Yeah,
like, then they like later changed it, and then it was like, um, they said something like there was possible shots fired or something. It was like a two-paragraph story. That was it.
yeah,
And it was like, uh, Trump was escorted off by Secret Service, appeared to be bloodied by possible shots at a rally. And it
yeah,
was like two people are dead, one the shooter and one the other thing. It's like possible shots,
yeah, yeah,
but the shooter is dead.
yep, yep,
It's like you guys are just being cunts to be cunts. Like,
yeah,
and they were all doing it. Like it was all of them. The Globe sucked.
yeah.
Washington
It's
Post, CNN,
it's like
those are the
a
ones I saw.
coordinated effort from all of
Yeah, like,
them.
well, we're not gonna call this an assassination
None of them
attempt.
use the word
Let's and
assassination.
that's the other thing is like there's this weird thing right now about it like not being an assassination attempt. Like they asked Biden, it's like, oh, do you think this was an assassination attempt? He goes, well, I got my
Yeah,
opinion, but I don't know. And it's
yeah,
like the news articles won't say like um Trump survived, and that's the thing because it would have to be like Trump survives an assassination attempt.
right, right,
But no one wants to put those words into print.
right.
Which is amazing because if you go like way back in the day, what was it after Pearl Harbor? Was it just war? Exclamation point. Wasn't that the headline or
Yeah,
something?
yeah,
And it's like that's it. All it has to be. Trump survives assassination attempt. That's Trump survives. That's 4 words. That's it.
yeah,
Front page.
yep, yeah. Forbes ran an article with a headline of is this going to be the latest in driving more black voters to Trump or something like that? Like Forbes, like the financial magazine, like the very reputable
Oh.
financial magazine had an a
Not anymore, dude.
titled.
Their articles fucking suck.
Yeah, I know, but like they title it clearly by this headline, like, will this be the next thing to drive black voters to Trump? Which, I mean, Black Twitter had a field day with this. They were like, everyone was going nuts.
So I just searched it. New York Times front page 7/14/24. And it goes Trump hurt but safe after a shooting.
Yeah,
Again, they didn't say assassination attempt. They didn't say like again, they're like dancing around it, right?
right.
Boston Globe. Trump survives shots at rally. That's fine. I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
Washington Post. Uh, uh, I don't know if I can find Washington Post for today, but New York Post, which we know goes a different way. Bloodied but unbowed, ex-president survives assassination bid, and then in big letters it goes Trump shot.
Yeah.
Like, I know they lean the other way, but why can't I find the Washington Post?
Trump escorted away after loud noises at
Yeah.
PA rally. Vinny
What would
said
be
it to
another
us
one?
yesterday.
What would be another
It's
terrible article? What's LA's paper? LA Times?
yeah. So CNN's initial headline was Secret Service rushes Trump off stage after he falls at rally.
Yeah. Good, right?
Yeah.
Uh, 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 I don't see LA Times either.
So I mean, I send it to the group text on Twitter, like, but there's people are printing um Donald Trump trading cards, right?
Yeah.
Like the assassination attempt trading card with like a um like a card rating, right? Like a BSG 10 or what is it, WSG, like whatever it is, WCG. Like it's wild. So like those are out there. Um One of my favorite ones, again, Defiant L's on Twitter. They're awesome. So they posted this. So Stephen King, who is like, despite him being a fantastic author, or was at one point, I think once he stopped doing coke and drinking, his books kind of went downhill. But his all like he's a classic writer, right? He has some of the best books ever. Um, but he's an insufferable fucking moron when it comes to politics. He tweeted and goes, an AR-15 style semi-automatic rifle was used in the Butler shooting. These are the guns the Republican Party and Trump want to protect. And then someone replies to that and goes, we should probably ban assassination as well.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter what kind of rifle, like you can't you can't assassinate the president. Right? Like that's illegal.
The guy could have used a musket and it still would have
Yeah.
been illegal.
You could have tried to shoot a bow and arrow at him. It's still illegal. Right? Like so I mean the stories out there are pretty great. Again, Twitter is great. Um but it's um it's just a lot, right? And it's a really shitty situation. It's an awful, terrible situation. Again, I go back to that one family now has to plan a funeral and get on with the rest of their lives without, their father, husband, brother, whomever, like that part he was to that family. And you just have people that want to make it about other shit, right? So I don't know. I mean, I'm glad Trump is okay. Obviously, it sucks um, that guy Corey lost his life, and those other people are injured. But I mean, it's kind of this is what it is. This is where we are. This is where we're at. It's definitely going to be an interesting, 3.5 months.
Yeah, great.
So, I mean, I think the worst part about this is that he's going to say some dumb shit about this. Right? Like he can't help himself. Like he has the potential to like actually rally a lot of people that would otherwise not really like him just for the fact that like somebody tried to kill him and he survived and again made like has one of the most iconic pictures ever in the history of the country for a president. But he's going to say some dumb shit and people are going to be like, how am I going to support this guy now? Right? He's going to be like, oh yeah, I was told they've never seen a body like mine. There's no bullets that are strong enough to go through me. I'm invincible, right? Like he's gonna say some dumb shit like that. And it's gonna be like, dude, just keep your fucking mouth shut. Tell everyone you love the country and you love them. You're here to protect them, and you're just gonna win. You're gonna win. And stop doing fucking public speaking events.
No, that was the problem last week. It's like, oh, Biden's out here looking bad in public speaking, but like, where's Trump?
Yeah,
I don't know. Apparently, he's not going out there because he's just getting fucking shot at.
yeah. So I mean, apparently too, and now maybe the woman who's the director of the Secret Service might actually lose her job because she has denied Trump's request for increased Secret Service presence and also denied RFK Jr. Secret Service protection altogether, right? So there could be some blowback there, right? But again, I don't think that the woman got on the horn and called the 25 Secret Service agents that were at this event and told them to let Trump get shot. That's a little absurd.
Oh, that's yeah. People who think that shit are fucking stupid.
Yeah. So there you have it. Any other thoughts on that before we wrap it up?
Nope.
It's kind of nuts when shit like that happens, like in real time.
Yeah.
Like it, the advent of Twitter really is something, right? Like it kind of makes you wonder, like, what would 9/11 have been like if Twitter was around? What
I'm actually
would
glad
what
it
would the
wasn't.
Kennedy assassination have been like if Twitter was around? Like that's one of those things too that I just because I like fun conspiracies. Like imagine if Twitter was around for the Kennedy assassination and someone had like an iPhone video of some guy in the bushes across the street,
Yeah.
right? Like that's kind of fucking nuts. So I don't know. Actually, before we wrap up, the one thing I saw that was hilarious was someone goes, if CNN if CNN was around in 1963, which I'm kind of surprised. I thought it was, but maybe it didn't come around until later. But it was like it was a picture of Kennedy falling off the back of the Lincoln or whatever the car was that he was in, and the headline it was like it was obviously a fake CNN headline, but it was the CNN website, and the headline said Kennedy falls off his car with massive migraine. Just being like Trump falls on stage, like
Yeah.
that's yeah, yeah. So I thought that was pretty good. I actually LOL'd when I read that the first time.
Wonder what those front pages look like.
Well, that's the difference is that Kennedy was beloved, right? Oh, so that's the other thing too. That's to go way back. I guess we're not going to wrap it up quite yet. Um, Talking about the Reagan stuff. When you asked originally, like, how do you make your way for why did they want to kill Reagan? So there's been a few presidents that have actually been assassinated and have been attempted to be assassinated. Um, and they all have been involved one way or another in trying to reduce government influence. So Abraham Lincoln um, wanted to abolish the Federal Reserve, and he was assassinated. Kennedy also talked about abolishing the Federal Reserve, right? But he was also anti-Vietnam War, and he was assassinated. Reagan,
His front page headlines didn't really leave a lot to be there definitely wasn't anything um about JFK's head falls off in motorcade in Dallas. Kennedy assassinated, Kennedy dead, Kennedy slain on Dallas Street, murder of the president, Kennedy shot dead, Kennedy assassinated, Kennedy shot to death, slain by sniper, assassin kills Kennedy. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny they didn't dance around the topic then.
No. Nope. So Reagan was a very he was a very popular president, obviously, right, at the time. I just found this one thing that said he had approval ratings up around 60%. And then when he got shot, his approval ratings went up to over 70%. So, but again, before he was shot, his approval ratings were sitting around 60%, which is almost unheard of in like today's terms. But he was doing a lot of things that were kind of, rattling people's cages. Um, I don't know specifically some of the policies that he was doing, but I think he was probably against like he wasn't anti-Federal Reserve like Kennedy and Lincoln were. Um, but I think he was changing a lot of things in Washington and ruffling some feathers there. So um, that was a thing. And then the other thing, like one of the things that I've become super fascinated with after listening to Dave Smith talk about it is the whole Nixon presidency. That obviously Nixon won his election in a landslide. Um, and he was talking about making a lot of changes in Washington too. And then all of a sudden, they indict his vice president, Spiro Agnew, for like tax fraud or something, tax evasion. And then obviously everyone knows about Watergate, right? So they impeach Nixon. And then so they impeach the president, right? And Nixon's vice president, Spiro Agnew, gets removed from his position. So then who do they put in as president in his stead? Gerald Ford, who sat on the Warren
Inventor of
Commission.
the car.
Yeah, inventor of the car, but who sat on the Warren Commission, which oversaw the assassination attempt of JFK, which initially the Warren Commission was like, yeah, nothing to see here. Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. That's it. There was one bullet, the magic bullet theory, right? It bounced around in the car, went through like three bodies, ended up on the gurney next to Kennedy, fully intact, right? But blew his head off and went through the wrist of, the governor sitting next to him or something like that. They were like, yeah, no, no, no. Warren Commission, 2 thumbs up. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's for sure. And the guy that sat on that was Gerald Ford, who was then placed in the presidency. So like I love that story. Like that is like the ultimate conspiracy theory to me. But yeah, I mean, typically it's these people that are anti-establishment, right? Like Trump has been saying he's going to go in. I know the first time he said he was going to drain the swamp and he didn't. Um, but I mean, this time he's just talking about making changes and doing things differently and kind of, you know, ruffling feathers again. And here we have an assassination attempt here. So you've got Lincoln, Kennedy, Reagan. Nixon wasn't an assassination attempt, but they assassinated his character. Um, the only one that I can't really draw a conclusion from, which truthfully I don't know a lot about, is William McKinley. So I know William McKinley was assassinated. Um, but I don't really know anything about that. I know nothing about William McKinley other than he was the 25th president and he was assassinated. But again, you can draw the conclusions between Lincoln, Kennedy, Reagan, and Nixon, and now Trump. People that are really popular, people that want to go against the grain, make changes, and ruffle feathers. And weird. They've all either been removed from office or assassinated or attempted to be. So that's to answer your initial question about Reagan. So I guess now we can wrap this up.
All right, my final thought. I don't know if you've heard, but they tried to kill Trump yesterday. Back on the golf course today.
Yeah.
He was playing, I think at his course in New Jersey.
Yep.
Just
Yep.
doesn't stop the guy.
Nope. Nope. Golf guy.
I wonder what he shot.
Yeah. I don't know. Probably a little bit lighter today, swinging the club though.
Yeah, it can throw your rotation off though. Now you're like missing part of ear.
Yeah, he's less aerodynamic.
I'm also sure he's probably got a lot of fucking ring in that ear. Mop, mop.
Mop. Yeah. Yeah, might be a little deaf in that ear for a few more days.
Yeah,
But
I assume the videos are real that he was playing at. I think it was Bedminster.
yeah, yeah,
I assume it was a real video from that he was playing today. Because I mean, why wouldn't he?
yeah, why not? Right. And then he got on a plane and went to Milwaukee, I think, for the RNC convention is this week.
Good.
Yeah, yeah. So my final thought is I am a dumbass, I suppose.
Yes.
So because I am just a fucking piece of shit, can't do anything right, right? We've talked about this multiple times. Um, I was initially thinking about, because I go, oh, the grass is getting long in the backyard, like I gotta cut the grass. And my thought process today was, well, it's gonna be really hot today. Um, I kind of want to play golf because I haven't been able to golf. I don't think I golfed at all last week. I did last weekend, but like during the weekdays, like I didn't play at all. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna play tomorrow, right? Because I was gonna get up this morning and play early, but I just didn't, right? So I go, I know, I'll cut the grass this afternoon and then I'll play golf tomorrow night, Monday night. Easy, nice and easy. So I go out, I don't know, maybe around like 3:30, 4 o'clock to cut the grass. I pull the cover off the lawnmower, I start it up, whatever. I go and I hit the gas and I grab the steering wheel. Well, the steering wheel is black plastic. And despite it being underneath a cover, uh, it was over 90 degrees today in North Attleboro or in Massachusetts, and that steering wheel was real fucking hot. So what happened? I don't know if you can see this because it's dark on YouTube. It's dark in the room, but I burnt the shit out of my hands. So I have a burn. I have a blister right here on my hand, underneath my index finger on my right hand, the side of my thumb on my right thumb, and then in the same spot on my left hand, underneath my index finger, and then dead center and my left thumb. So I've got burns on my hands from grabbing the steering wheel on the lawnmower today because it was
Yeah, but
sitting in the sun and it was hot.
at least you get to play golf tomorrow.
Yeah, so I will most likely not be playing golf tomorrow because I probably can't hold a fucking golf club with second-degree burns on my hands.
At least it's like only in the spot. Like if you needed to like manipulate a golf swing, they're like in the exact spot that you have to like
Yep.
wrap with.
Yep. The four spots that make the most contact with a golf club
Yeah.
are the first knuckle underneath your both index fingers and the tips of your thumbs. And that's exactly where my burns are. So it's pretty fucking sick.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
That's good planning.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty awesome.
That's actually pretty impressive. I'm
Right? That's what I'm saying.
yeah. I didn't think you were I was gonna be like, oh, you're out of gas, or you hit something out there that you weren't expecting to hit, or like
Yep.
fucking hit a rut and fucking blew something out.
Nope.
Definitely didn't
Burn my
have
hands.
burn hands on my bingo
Second
card.
degree burns, by the way, because they're blisters, right? So like a first degree burn is just when it gets red. Second degree is the blister, and then the third degree is when the shit turns like white or black or whatever, and like you need like serious medical attention. So yeah, second degree burns on my hands from the fucking steering wheel of the lawnmower. All because I wanted to play golf tomorrow after work.
Yep.
So I'll cut the grass today.
Pretty good.
Yep. Because I typically when I cut the grass too, I'll cut it later in the day, like maybe around 5 or 6. But like obviously, like we record on Sundays, right? And I want to eat dinner. So I was like, oh, I'll just cut it at like 3:30, 4 o'clock. No big deal. Yeah, it's the fucking hottest part of the day. So
I think you've outdone yourself this time.
I think so too. So I mean, I figured you'd get a kick out of that.
Yeah. I can't even like laugh because I'm like, that's pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty awesome. So will I golf at all this week again? Who the fuck knows? Probably not. So maybe Friday. maybe I'll be healed enough to get out Friday. So that's gonna do it. It's gonna do it for us. So thanks for watching. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to click subscribe up above. Hit the thumbs up down below. Subscribe if you're an audio only guy. You can get us on Instagram at Sarcasm Speaks Pod. Twitter is sarcasm_speaks. Facebook is sarcasm speaks. The website is sarcasmspeaks.com. Check out the show notes below. Support all of the sponsors. You get your links and your discount codes. Get some cool products, save some money, support us. And until next time, good night, everybody.